The provincial government has handed over keys to new homes to the residents affected by that dam wall collapse now 2 years ago. 3 people were killed back then and hundreds of homes were destroyed after a violent mudslide in September of 2022. Newzroom Afrika's Veronica Makhoali was at the handing over process and she joins us live there with an update. I imagine, Veronica, good afternoon. What a sense of incredible relief, and that's probably an understatement. But I will ask, what did the department say about the fact that it's taken 2 years?
Well, good afternoon, Michelle. I can tell you a sense of relief is one way to describe it, but as we're standing outside the community hall here, the residents that filled this hall were mainly the elderly. And you could imagine 2 years, Michelle, following that disaster, as you've mentioned, where the mine dam wall collapsed, sending through a thunderous rush of grey sludge, essentially toxic waste from the dam that essentially collapsed homes here and filled stretches of neighborhoods and grassy fields here in this community of Jagersfontein, and turning it essentially into an ashen wasteland. And I can tell you that 2 years after this, while seeing some of the cattle grazing here, seeing some of the grass that have sprouted from the ground, while for any other ordinary citizen may think this is, just a normal day, you can understand that that is really a turnaround for this community after that mud had hardened and really turned this community into somewhat of a ghost town. And the residents here 2 years on, waiting, of course, for that fulfillment and promise from both the Free State government, the local municipality and the company responsible for that dam mine coming together to eventually give over those housing and, of course, that sense of dignity that has now been restored for this community. You asked, Michelle, of course, what the Free State government had to say about the delay. There was an acknowledgement, in fact, by the Premier, who I'm now joined by, essentially of what was some of the delays in terms of getting these housings to these people. Premier, thank you so much for your time. You spoke to the residents, and one of the key things I think that you did say that stood out there was the involvement of and the patience of the community while the government as well as the company worked to restore the homes of these residents.
Yes, of course, I had really to apologize on behalf of provincial government. As we all know that there were a lot of issues before we could finalize the project itself. There were people there were some disagreement in terms of the sizes of the house, as families were even saying, no, but my house was about 20 square meters, the other one was saying. So we had to sit down and with the mine and work out all those details in order to satisfy every beneficiary of the house today. Indeed, we call them beneficiary because the standard of the houses that some of them are going to get today are different from the ones that they used to stay in. Even the very same issue of the kind of houses that they want. As I mentioned, the size, even the type of the houses. Others will say, but mine had this kind of a brick and so on. So there were a lot of issues that had to be addressed before that. And remember also there were some studies that were undertaken here as well, where the University of the Free State, they had to come and assist in making sure that if we start building these houses, there won't be any other disaster immediately after that. So as you rightfully said, you see cows grazing, cattle grazing around. It's a sign of relief to us to say at least there is life that is still here in this area of Jagersfontein. So there were all those issues, but they've been addressed as far as I know now. So that's why we are here today saying let's hand over these houses. And today we are not, the houses are not yet complete. We got about 30 more that are still awaiting. But those are minor remaining issues like your electrification of those houses and so on. And those ones we said, let's reserve these ones until at least Deputy President, as we all know that he led this campaign of making sure that people get what they deserve in this area.
Yeah. And as you were speaking there, we can only imagine and go back to the scenes of the 11th of September when we remember what we saw here. Residents in shock, complete shock of what had happened. Many of them unable to not only save their belongings, but what was more important, their loved ones. We know that 3 people had died from this disaster, one of which was a mother of 2 whose still remains unaccounted for. As the provincial government, just walk us through the efforts in that, I suppose, search mission for her now.
What we got this morning, because we asked the family, earlier we were told that the family prefer to consult traditionally, and we must give them that space where they believe that they've been guided. And one of the issues that was raised was that wherever they went, whether it's traditional leaders or a church, they were given until the end of August that whatever they need to do there, they'll have to perform whatever they need to perform after August. So we're giving them that space for now because they believed in traditional way of making sure that they get assistance. But we said we're on standby and the mine as well, making sure that we'll definitely come back and intervene where there's a need. But for now, we're giving them space to do what they believe in.
Yeah. And let's talk about the fact that as the Premier of the 7th administration, that you, of course, inherited the impact of this disaster. Just walk us through, what has it taken for the provincial government to get to this recovery process in terms of the number of houses that have been built, the cost of this, rehabilitation process, if one might even call it that?
Of course, the expenditure here is estimated at more than 100 million. Remember, it's not only building the houses, it's even the accommodation, the temporary accommodation that these people had. So it's more than 100 million. Indeed, from the provincial government point of view, I really need to really state this, that the DG of the province, the team, the provincial government worked with these people. We never let them walk alone. We've been part of these processes. We've been part of them, the local government as well. We've been engaging with them, trying to get progress reports even from the mine. So they never walked alone. We walked this journey along with the people of Jagersfontein. And that's what makes me proud with the 7th administration, that we are taking over. Some of us were part of the 6th administration, but I can tell you, we walk this road, this road with the people of Jagersfontein.
And I think the reassurance for residents, and perhaps maybe even a precaution to other mining communities across the country, after what we saw here in the Free State, specifically in Jagersfontein, the measures that have been taken after this disaster.
This morning when we met the mine, what we asked as well was the guarantee of safety around the mine. And this is one area that we agreed, both of us, the mine and us as provincial government, that we also need the engagement or the involvement now of our National Department, Water and Sanitation. And we agreed in the earlier meeting that we'll have to bring them along just to make sure that we finalize whatever outstanding measures that need to guarantee the people that this disaster will not happen once again. So we are awaiting that, because we cannot say 100% that nothing will happen. We'll have to get proper and research should be completed so that we get certificates that will assure people. Even on the houses, we said we're not going to open or hand over these houses unless the NHBRC is involved in making sure that the work that has been done here is the work that has been also been assessed by an NHBRC. So indeed, they did that. That's why we're here today.
Premier, thank you so much for your time. We'll be joining you shortly at the ribbon-cutting ceremony at those houses there. That was the Premier of the Free State, MaQueen Letsoha-Mathae, speaking about the fact that, she acknowledged the delay in terms of the houses that needed to be built and the restoration of dignity for the Jagersfontein residents, but also they're conceding to the fact that they cannot necessarily agree right now in terms of the guarantee of the safety of the residents from this mine, the diamond mine here, where that dam wall collapsed, and saying that they are making sure that all the research has been done to ensure that it never happens again. But Michelle, if you just allow me, I'm going to speak to now a resident of one of the houses, and what the Premier said, a beneficiary of these new homes in Dadelefa. Thank you so much for your time. You heard the Premier there speaking about the fact that these houses are now ready. As a community, 2 years on, is there a sense of relief among you?
Thank you very much. I've heard what the Premier was saying, and some of it, what she said, I disagree with, because today it's a happy day, as they are saying, the handing over of the keys. Nah? But now my question is, how do you hand over the keys? Hence, the houses are still empty, you see, and some of those houses have cracks. Now we have just to dance with the music by handing over the keys, because we need our the daily needs. Like for example, when I receive the keys, I must know at least I have finishers, whatever I have to use for on a daily basis. But the houses are empty. Now I don't understand and going and entering in my house in an empty house. So I'm disappointed. But anyhow, it is final. The keys are to be handed over today.
And Ndate, just as a community, having to think about the trauma that happened 2 years ago and still knowing that a resident among you has still not been found, just walk us through how the community has been able to pick up, or if they've been able to pick up the pieces at all since what happened here 2 years ago.
The promises, it sounds like a music in my ears, because since they promised, no, we'll support you for searching the other lady who she's not still found, but they keep on promising, where we are behind you, we'll support you, but we are still alone, you see. So and we have even made peace that she will never come back to us anymore. So that's that. Yeah.
Ndate, you also want to add a comment there?
Re latlhotse ke batswadi ba rona ba bangata ka re Jagersfontein. Hosane kapa weekend ena ba tla bo patwa me Mastutu ke e mong wa di victims tsa disaster. Even though a kutsi re latlhotse ke bo me Mamolo, aus violate bo mama, and mmuso wa rona ona mo ntho e o etsa. Bana ba le batla fela ba tlo re tshepisa ntho tse ba re tshepisang tsona. Nna ke nna re premier a kana a batla ho etsa audit le new boss, because it's a conflict of interest. Ntate wa new boss le ntate wa JD ke company e one ya main contractor. Why mosebetsi o sa fuwa batho ba local e be bone ba a matlo ana matlo a krekile ona jwale a mang le ona jwale ifu ka hlase fefo mo Jagersfontein matlo la tlo tsamaya ale mara premier o fuwa senotlolo ke maswabi fela gore premier a tla go rona setšhaba tlo utlwa maikutlo rona re ikutlwa jwang, because ne re na no tla mona a tlo botsa rona pele a lo nka senotlolo a bula matlo wa bona mohlomong batho ba mona ba tlwaetse bona ntse go teng ke di brown envelopes tse di fuwa mona Jagersfontein wa bona batho ba fuwa ditšhelete ka morao mosebetsi wa etswa and then nothing is happening.
That how work the implications to health. A ke wa hopola metsi a la tswa mono eno le metsi a mine a ditshila. As a community na ke batla utlwisisa, has there been any health implications since then?
What's about the health implications anga di affected bile mmatenga o tsala teng go toropo ona ya le mine ntse le ka o cleaner mobulo o no tsamaya ka seretse se hanga da so ba le the health implications tse ka re di a kalokalo mo.
Just a response there from some of the residents saying that while they are welcoming the building of new homes as promised by the provincial government and the owners of the mine, they still believe that the housing is quite shoddy. Listening to the residents, they're speaking about issues of cracks in the housing, some saying that when their homes were destroyed, they were fully furnished and now they are moving into empty houses that do not have furniture. You also heard there previously the Premier speaking about the fact that there are still a few homes that are missing bulk services, including connection to water and electricity. So the residents there saying that they seem to be dancing to the tune of the provincial government and that, while it is indeed a milestone for these houses to be built here, there is still a lack of commitment and the promises here are long overdue. Michelle.